The parable of the horse. Resilience, moving forward. Do you consider yourself a resilient person? Sometimes life puts us in deep holes, and the only way out is not to let despair bury us, but to use each challenge as a stepping stone to move forward. Once upon a time there was a farmer who lived in a small village surrounded by green hills and vast fields of wheat. The man, although noble-hearted and hard-working, faced many difficulties in his life. The dry seasons and harsh frosts had brought him to the brink of despair more than once, but he always found a way to get up and move forward. On his small farm he had several animals, including a strong and loyal horse that helped him plow the land and transport the products he grew. One day at dawn, when the sky was beginning to turn a soft orange hue, his foreman came running with a worried expression on his face. "Boss, boss," he shouted from a distance, agitated by the urgency. One of the horses had fallen into the old well in the field. The farmer, his heart racing, ran to the place. The well had been abandoned for many years, covered by weeds and almost forgotten. It was deep and dark, a trap hidden among the tall grass. When they arrived, they saw the horse at the bottom, restless but miraculously unharmed. The farmer felt relief for a moment, but then he was faced with a harsh reality. Getting it out of there would be a titanic and very costly task for someone who barely had enough to survive. The farmer, looking at the animal's face and the smooth walls of the well, assessed the situation with eyes full of sadness. The foreman, with his head down, awaited orders. After a long silence, the farmer made a decision that weighed on his soul. "We can't get it out, it's too deep," he said in a serious voice. "It's not worth the effort, it's better to sacrifice it, start throwing dirt and let's end its suffering." The foreman nodded, though with a frown, and began to shovelfuls of dirt into the pit. The sound of falling dirt echoed in the silence of the field, as the horse whinnied and shifted restlessly. With each thud of dirt that covered him, the horse seemed to struggle to understand what was happening. What happened next, however, took everyone by surprise. As the dirt fell on his back, the horse did not stand still or give in to despair. Instead of letting himself be buried, he shook off the dirt that fell on top of him and crushed it with his hooves, creating a solid base under his feet. Each time a new layer of dirt fell on him, the horse shook it off and rose a little higher. The men who were initially too focused on their task soon began to notice what was happening. "Look," one of the laborers shouted, pointing in amazement. "The horse is rising." The farmer, who had looked away because of the pain of his decision, raised his head and saw the incredible. The horse was not only resisting but was using the same earth that was trying to bury it to save itself. Little by little, step by step, the horse was ascending. The men, who at first had thought that it was best to leave the animal behind, were speechless when they saw its determination. Suddenly what had begun as a sacrifice was transformed into a life lesson. Each shovel of earth was not the end but an opportunity for the horse to rise higher. The farmer's eyes filled with tears. He could no longer continue throwing earth with the same intention. Now they did so with a mixture of wonder and hope, helping the animal to build its way out. After what seemed like an eternity, the horse, covered in dust and sweat, finally managed to get out of the hole. He was panting from the effort, but he was free. He stood still for a moment, looking around, and then with a firm step he walked towards the meadow as if nothing had happened. The peasant, who had observed everything in silence, felt a lump in his throat. He approached the horse and stroked its back with gratitude. "I thought it was the end for you," he whispered, "but you have shown me that even when everything seems lost, there is always a way forward." The men who had been there also understood something important that day. Life in its unpredictable nature often throws difficulties at us, just as they had thrown dirt on the horse. But the key is not to give up but to shake off that dirt and use it to propel us forward. As the days went by, the farmer could not stop reflecting on what had happened. The horse had faced what seemed to be the end, but instead of accepting his fate, he had decided to fight, to take advantage of each challenge to become stronger and climb a little higher. He also thought about his own life in this way. He had faced losses, ruined crops, and times of drought, moments when everything seemed to go against him. But like the horse, he had continued forward, shaking off every shovelful of dirt that life threw at him. Perhaps, he thought, the key was not to avoid difficulties, but to learn to transform them into opportunities to climb, to grow, and to be stronger. That day at dusk, while the farmer watched his horse run free through the field, he understood that resilience was more than just resisting. It was the ability to turn each obstacle into an opportunity to rise higher than before.
Welcome to our channel. All copyrights reserved. Don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and select the bell to be notified of new videos.